Hi, everybody. Welcome to Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life. This is a recorded show because I'm out there living my optimal life, having a wonderful, wonderful vacation. So, guys, enjoy this show. The show is with one of my best besties, and you're going to just enjoy us having a fantastic conversation for the next hour. Enjoy. Hi again, everybody. I'm so excited today because there is this woman that I hold in such high esteem. She is so dear to me. And when I reached out to ask her, hey, will you be on the show? Will you come and just give my audience the opportunity to appreciate how much I love you and also start to love you too? I waited with bated breath just to see if she would actually accept my invitation. And when she said yes, I was elated. I was just the happiest person. So it is with great joy that I introduce to you, ladies, and the few gentlemen who tune in to watch us. Please welcome Ashlie Woods to the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life show. Ashlie, will you introduce yourself to everybody and just share with everybody who you are and the amazing work that you are doing in the world?
Okay, that's a tall order. So thank you for having me. It's really lovely to be with you this morning. My name is Ashlie Woods. I am the lead coach and the director of the business division for Sourced. Sourced is a really amazing organization. We help people like yourself, service providers, transformational leaders, coaches, consultants, healers, creatives, people who have a heart and a commitment for transformation. We help those people to market, sell, and deliver deep transformation in their businesses. So we do that in a couple of ways. We have a certification program, which in my opinion is just a premier program in the industry. Not a lot of places are teaching what we teach. It's like beyond coaching, right? In terms of really being able to hold potent space for transformation to happen. So we have a certification program for people who are looking to expand their skills in that way. And then we have a business division, which is my playground. And in the business division, we help people to be able to market and sell that work, and also to design their business in such a way that it allows for their greatest expression and their most magical gifts to come through and, really shine. So that's what I do.
Well, that tells us a little bit about what you do, but I feel like the real question, the question that inquiring minds want to know, is how did you even get here, Ashlie? Like, how did you get to be doing this kind of work? There are tons of other things you could have been doing. What led you here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, it's been a long journey. I'll start there.
So tell us the story,
You
but you
know,
don't have to start at the day when you were born necessarily.
well, actually, here's what I'm present to, because I'll tell you this, Davia. It's I fell in love with transformation about 16 years ago, and really, I've been on that trajectory ever since. So how I got here, there's a number of things I could say, but here's what I'll tell you. I took a weekend like retreat or workshop on the recommendation of a friend. And at the time, I was really struggling in my relationship, primarily struggling in my relationships, but I was in my early 20s and, some self-confidence stuff and all that. So I took this workshop thing that she recommended. I had no idea what to expect or what it was going to be about. And those 3 days completely rocked my world. And I remember one of the first experiences I had out of that weekend. It was probably the week after I'd spent the weekend in this retreat. And I went to lunch with a friend. We ordered our sandwiches and took them out onto the patio to eat. And I picked up my sandwich and I noticed myself saying, it was a chicken salad sandwich. This chicken salad doesn't have grapes in it. My grandma puts grapes in it. It's supposed to have grapes in it. Where are the grapes? There's no grapes in this. The bread's a little dry. It's a little, yeah, this is okay. It's not. And for the first time, right, I could hear myself or witness this happening. And as soon as I recognized it, it fell away. And it was like the sky broke open, right? Like all of a sudden I could hear the birds chirping. The sky looked bluer. I could feel the breeze on my skin and the texture of the sandwich in my mouth. It was like all of a sudden I was in the experience where before I was, and I had no idea how much of my life I'd been experiencing through this filter of analysis and judgment and assessment and everything that was going on. And it was like a game changer. I found myself, again, this is a long time ago, and I found myself wanting to like shout from the rooftops, you're not who you think you are. Like, you don't have to suffer. You don't have to. It was the first time I recognized that there was an interpretation happening internally about what was happening externally, and that I had a choice about how I saw the world. And I was hooked. So I've been engaged. I've been training in the world of transformation, facilitating these conversations in some form or fashion for the last 16 years since. So, that's kind of where I stepped onto this path. And then I find myself here now with the opportunity to work with transformational leaders. So these are people who are front running this conversation, who are bringing their healing gifts to the world, who are having the kinds of conversations that raise the consciousness on the planet, who alleviate suffering, who open up possibility. I mean, these are amazing human beings I get to work with that are out there causing really beautiful impact in the world. So does that answer the question?
What kind of work were you doing before when you discovered this exciting world of transformation? What was your area of focus then?
Yeah, I had a photography business. So I was shooting mostly like families and some weddings. I had a portrait photography business, basically.
Yeah. And what was it like to make that transition from photography to transformational coaching? Because I mean, I know that when you are working with people to photograph them, there's some coaching that has to take place there. There is some transformation that has to take place there, but it kind of is a big leap into the sort of work that you are doing now. So tell us a little bit about what went on. What was that road that you had to travel to get to where you are now?
That's really great. Well, I actually incorporated some of the work into my photography. So there was a phase of bringing these concepts and this work into the realm of what I was doing. So I did some of that initially. And then I went to work for a restaurant organization. So I kind of trained. I got a lot of my training, I could say, in a restaurant kind of corporate environment where I was accountable for the training and development of the training teams and the managers in the stores. So I would develop curriculum to help give them the coaching type of distinctions that we use in transformational work. And they would apply it in their shifts and in their running of the restaurant. So that's where I first started applying this work, was when I kind of set aside my photography business, right? And I decided to move into more of this role. And I started doing training and development in restaurants. So that was the first context in which I worked. And I was really like, kind of like a life coach in the restaurant. You know, the managers would bump up against some kind of performance issue or some kind of employee challenge that they didn't know how to handle, and I would coach them through it. And then I would develop these classes or these programs that they could all come together and take that would help give them some better communication skills, right? Ways to listen that would help them actually alter someone's performance or empower someone to choose and maybe do something differently. So I was like a life coach in the restaurant.
Tell us a little bit about how that worked. Like, tell us a story about one time back in the restaurant where you had to actually pull out your life coaching skills and make life coaching part of your work when it really wasn't what you were there to do.
But it was what I was there to do.
Okay.
You know, I had the benefit of working for a company that valued that kind of conversation. Mm-hmm. And so I was there to alter the cultural conversations that made up the vibe of the restaurant. So I actually was there for that. And people would come to me for that. They would say, hey, I need to talk to you about something. Mm-hmm, it was like I was their resource. So it's a really fortunate position to be in, because I do know some people, and I've worked with plenty of clients who they're not in transformation. They're not a coach. They're in a corporate environment. Maybe they're an exec of some level, or they're, a management leading a team in some way. And they're bringing in these skills because it's who they are and what they know, but they're not necessarily met with an environment that's receptive to it, which is, a totally different experience. But I got brought on to do that. And so it was great, because it was like I had opportunities to practice all the time and to create and lead. And, it's just it was a really fun environment to work in, actually.
So tell us a story then about a time when it was really successful, with you sharing about what you were there to do.
Gosh, that feels so long ago. It was probably 13 years ago. Let's see. The thing that's showing up for me. So when you in the restaurant, we had a whole, I think there were 12 restaurants at the time, maybe. You have training teams within the restaurant, right? So people that are responsible for training new servers as they come on. And so I would train the teams that would train the servers in some particular, like some really unique ways. So I remember one opportunity or experience that we created where we took all the head trainers from the restaurants and actually brought them into my home and created this, it was like a retreat before I was leading retreats, actually. So it was really sweet. Brought in a professional makeup artist who walked them through a visualization around who they wanted to become, and this inspiring muse energy that they wanted to tap into, and then taught them skills for applying their makeup, which kind of seems crazy in one sense or irrelevant to the restaurant, but it was so powerful. And I remember this early experience because I hadn't facilitated something quite like that before. But I remember the women coming in and all sitting in a big circle around this table and following the instruction. And we took pictures of them afterwards. I mean, they were lit up, and I watched them step into a new energy through the process, like of who they were going to be, and then sense for themselves how they were creating it, how they could create this energy every day with such a simple routine task of like putting on makeup, you know? It was really powerful. I still have those girls still reach out to me about, you know, the impact that that experience had for them. So that's the first thing I think of when you ask me.
But that's a really, really powerful example of how in a corporate setting, having something like this can really, really change people's lives. And something that you mentioned earlier, that there are lots of corporate settings where there are people who are working behind the scenes to fill that role of the coach, even though that is not the role that they have been put into. They're filling the void because the void is there. The fact that the company that you are working with, they saw the necessity and they brought you on in that role. That's amazing. That is so, so amazing. See, I even just assumed that they didn't even know that that was necessary.
Yeah.
It's so great that they knew that that's something.
And these people stand out because, you know, I would say it now in our language at Source, I would say like, they're bringing their magic into their work environment, whether they're necessarily aware of it or not. But when they're employing these transformational tools and ways of being, they're different than generally speaking, everyone around them. So they are sought out by their peers, or they are leading in a particular way, because not everybody has the capacity or the skill set to bring presence to the conversation. So the people I've worked with that do their own inner work, and then they take that expression back into their workplace, they really stand out. They really shine.
They really do. That's so true. So you left the world of the restaurants. What happened next? What was the next step along your journey?
Even when I was leading then, I remember a very specific meeting we were in the restaurant. All the leadership of the restaurant company was in a development program together. And we did some like visioning work, 5 years out, whatever, you know, planning, visioning, tapping in. And even at that moment, I remember thinking, I want to be out of this restaurant. 5 years from now, I'm going to be out of here. And I want to be training transformational leaders. I want to be doing more of that. So that was a seed that was planted a long time ago. I started by leading my own retreats. That was the thing that came next. I left the restaurant, and I had taken a bit of a sabbatical to travel the world. So I went on this really epic adventure through Southeast Asia and India and Nepal. And I used that time to really tune in to my soul and my heart and what I most desired. And it was in that time frame that I received an actual like full-on vision of what would come next. And it was like the scene of a retreat. There were all these women standing around this really beautiful table and these twinkle lights, and everybody was glowing and radiant, you know, like the way they do when they know who they are and are full of love and joy for themselves and life. Like they looked like that. And I thought, whatever just happened here, I had a hand in facilitating that. And it was like, man, if I could do anything, I would facilitate transformational experiences in really beautiful places around the world. Like that would be the dream. And so I started moving towards that. And that's what I did, which was pretty amazing, actually.
So you started leading retreats. Tell us a little bit about the sorts of retreats that you lead, because I think there are different types of retreats, and there might be some confusion in the minds of some of our listeners, some of our viewers about what exactly we're talking about when we talk about retreats.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say I would distinguish a retreat as any multi-day experience where the intention is transformation. So that could look different. You know, there might be some yoga retreats where the only intention is to have a break and do yoga. And there's totally nothing wrong with that, but they're not necessarily set up as a transformational experience. So, yes, that's how I would distinguish it. And interestingly enough, when I first started leading retreats, the first retreat I ever led had a photography basis. So I had left the restaurant and then I kind of returned to this skill set and this passion that I had for photography. And, you know, I think at the time I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. I'd never done it before. So there was a little bit of nervousness involved. And photography was something that I felt really comfortable with, that I could teach. And so I framed up the retreat as a photography expedition kind of thing. And we used the framework of photography to get at the principles, because there's a lot that can apply. So like where you put your focus determines what you see. Like you have to let the light in. How are you framing something? How could you reframe it? Right? There's all these ways that you can map photography onto the work. And so that was my first experience. And then once I did that, I was really clear. I love photography, but I don't want to teach it. And I don't want that to be part of it. I really gave myself permission to just do the transformational work I mostly wanted to do. And so I hit that path running and I never looked back.
And so going forward, what did your retreats look like?
Yeah. So for me, retreats looked like, and you're right, they can happen. The first retreat I took, what I'm calling a retreat would probably be better named a seminar or something in most people's world. Okay. It happened in a big room with like stark chair, a big empty room with perfectly lined rows of chairs and chalkboards, and was kind of sterile and it's really cold in there. And that was the experience of that. Some people lead retreats in hotel ballrooms or conference rooms or something like that. For me, my retreats have a strong basis in mindfulness and meditation and movement practices. So I tend to pick retreat centers that are designed for retreat in really, great locations. And we usually sit in a big circle and pillows on the floor and markers and colors. And that's the kind of style of retreat. It's got a very relaxed and let's slow down and tune in kind of vibe to them. Yeah.
So I was invited to one of your retreats recently that you guys went to Guatemala. Guys, I wanted to go so badly, did not get a chance.
You go next month.
Can't go because
okay. Well, I'm just saying we haven't gone yet, just for the record.
Wanted to go so badly, but couldn't go. But the last one that you guys went to in Guatemala, had an opportunity to talk to a dear friend of mine, and she showed me pictures. It was so beautiful. And tell us a little bit about like the environment, because we want to know, like paint us a picture and then tell us a little bit about the kind of transformation that a person could expect on retreat with you. Ashlie.
Yeah, great. So this will be my 4th year to hold retreat in Guatemala. It will be my last official Wild Hearted retreat, which is the name and that's my brand and my company that I've been doing business under is Wild Hearted. So it'll be my last Wild Hearted retreat as I transition fully into Sourced. I picked Guatemala as a location very intuitively. And 4 years ago was the first time I saw a picture on Instagram. I thought, whoa, where is that? And then within like 3 days, I was seeing it everywhere. You know how that goes, where you just like, all of a sudden it's on your radar and it's, yeah, girl. So it was there. And I was like, oh, this is where we're supposed to go. It's really very special place to me. So I think part of the experience is just getting there. You fly into Guatemala City. You take about a 3-hour shuttle to the main port on the lake. The primary transportation at the lake is a boat. So you get off the shuttle onto a private boat that takes you about 20 minutes away and drops you at the private retreat dock. This retreat center is set on the side of the kind of lush, jungly hill. It is the realization of a dream for the retreat owner. She lives there on the property. She's a beautiful woman. She lives there. Her family is there. They nurture and love the place. The people that work there have worked there for, 10 plus years. They're like family. And so it's got this really sweet, intentional feel to it. And we meet every day in a big, spacious, gorgeous temple that sits right on the edge of the lake with these big doors that slide open and the breeze comes in. It's one of the deepest, it's like the deepest lake in Central America, and it's surrounded by these volcanoes. So you look out and it's just this powerful yet tranquil space. No traffic. Like I said, it's boats. So when the last boat runs at 5 or 6 and the sun starts to go down, that's it. You're not going anywhere. It gets real quiet, or just, yeah, beautiful.
That sounds so amazing. That's really, really, really lovely.
Yeah.
And the transformation that people can expect on retreat with you, what does that look like?
It's always my intention that people experience a real and undeniable connection to their true nature, and that they have some tools that can return them to that truth and that place over and over again. So a lot of what we do is a real settling and a slowing down. So I worked with a teacher once who gave this analogy, and I thought it was brilliant. So imagine you take just a glass of water, clear, luminous. This is our mind. Our true nature is clear, spacious, luminous presence. And then you add a scoop of mud and you give it a little stir, which is like habitual, repetitive, compulsive thinking, right? And then the normal input and stimulus of life is kind of like stirring that water. And there's nothing that's going to clear the water except stop agitating it, right? So if we set that muddy glass of water on your desk and we stop agitating it, it will settle and the water will become clear again, where you can see through it, right? There will be the clarity will be restored. And I think that's a perfect way to describe what happens on retreat. Design it in such a way that the mud can settle. And when it does, there will naturally be clarity around the things that had previously been foggy or confusing. And it's reliable. I mean, it happens every time. So that's one piece. The nervous system settles, the mud settles, the mind gets clear, the action to take, the move to make, the relationship to end, the move, the business to start, the whatever you're dealing with gets clear. And, in that process, just as transformation works, we're guiding you through experiences that enable you to see whatever blind spot has been back there that you haven't been able to see. We all have blind spots. Like, you're not special if you've got them, right? You're just one of us humans. And yeah, so by design, we're looking to see some aspect of ourself that's been hidden, denied, rejected, repressed. Allow it in the settling of the mud, it naturally floats to the surface. And when it does, it can be witnessed, transmuted, released, healed. And something new will just immediately become available in the space that opens up when that's gone. So that's what we do. And we use I use a handful of modalities. Like I said, we use visualization and meditation, stillness practices, mindfulness practices, an understanding of the nervous system and how to work and soothe. We use a free movement dance practice that helps really move and release energy from the body, while also helping you to integrate and bring to life new ways of being and expressing in the world. Very powerful practice. And journaling and play and, engagement, coaching, all the things. So that's how we get there.
That's beautiful. So, so beautiful. This show is grow your business smarter, live your optimal life. It's the intention is to get some alignment between the growing your business for the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, the woman in business, the woman in corporate life, with also her inner life, her family life, her other life that is not also her business, and to be able to have both of those to work harmoniously together. And so, of course, going on retreat is a great way to integrate those. What other advice do you have for self-care practices?
Well, certainly doing this work, there's not a lot of separation between my personal life and my work life. And I think that that's really true for most people, whether they recognize it or not. Who we're being in one place really translates to who we're being in a lot of places. And if we're struggling, everybody's had the experience where something in your personal life is really heavy or challenging, and it impacts how you can show up at work and how present you can be or how effective, and vice versa. You've been really busy at work perhaps, and you find it terribly difficult to be present with your family because you're pulled. So they're all mixed together. And I think the first thing I would say is, like, don't pretend they're not, just acknowledge and get responsible for that one area impacts the other, and tending to this area of your life in some form or fashion is tending to this area of your life too. In fact, Davia, you've probably heard me say a version of this to you where it's like going to the beach and having a day with your family is work, right? It count that in, like, it is work, because it fills you up and it gives you the space and the energy you need to then come back into your business and bring your full self to the table. So don't discount play and rest. I think we have a culture that really undervalues play, especially for adults. It's like kids have permission
here first,
play.
guys. Don't undervalue play.
That's right. Don't undervalue play. I mean, we need it. It is essential. It's not a luxury. It really is essential for our well-being. And play looks different for adults, whatever that looks like for you, but build time for play into your life. It's really, really important. So
I love that so, so much. It's so really, really important that we're having this conversation. And I feel like when we were naming the show, it really was important that we, even though we're talking about business and a lot of the things that we talk about on this show are business focused, we really, really needed to talk about the other piece too, which is the piece that is your life, which is your everyday, which is everything else. And it's all intertwined. It's all built together. So since it's all built together, how can we, Ashlie, guru of infusing source into your business, how can we infuse source into our businesses and grow our businesses smarter? What's your recipe for doing that?
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons that it felt like such a beautiful opportunity and aligned one to join Sourced and be a part of the team is because it so matches the philosophy I've been running my business with, and that I believe can really make the difference for people. And that is to make Source your business partner, to really understand. And I think that it starts with understanding the way Source works through you. For a lot of people, it's so the water that they swim in that they may not realize that it's Source working through them. It's just part of who they are and what they bring. And there's something really powerful about distinguishing that connection to your inner knowing. So when I say Source, I say you could use God, spirit, the universe, infinite intelligence, right? Whatever you like to call that, your inner knowing, and the way that comes to you, works through you. When you can name that and recognize it for what it is, and you can get intimately familiar with the way that it works for you and the way that it shows up in your life, in your business, you can start to design for it and optimize it. You can nurture it and cultivate it in a greater way. And so I think the first piece is like, name it, recognize it for what it is. We have a really great Darla, who is my friend and mentor and colleague. She's the founder of Sourced, has developed a Sourced Magic quiz, which I think is super fantastic, right? Because it gives people distinctions to help access the way this works for them. So that would be one way that you kind of tap into and discover what your particular magic is or how Source works through you. But when you start paying attention to that and noticing it, then you can develop a deeper relationship. Then you can use that in your business with your clients, with yourself, in making marketing decisions, hiring team decisions. You can use it in creating your next program decisions, whether or not you open a new office or whether or not you expand into this area of expertise, right? Like basically anything you want to do, you can consult your business partner Source to make it happen.
So let me get this 100% clear. What you are saying, Ashlie, is that capital S Source, your inner knowing, inner being, God, the universe, however you choose to define the higher power or greater good that you define, is always with you and working through you. And that the things that you have as your greatest gifts are actually here to support you in your business. Is that
what you're very well said?
And that we can use these gifts to support us as we're making decisions for really important things like hiring and making our programs, and even, important things like marketing. Really?
Mm-hmm. Really?
Huh. Please tell us more.
Yes, we certainly can. And what we find is because like I said, I'm in the business division, right? So all of our business programs that we offer at Sourced are designed with this in mind. This is like foundational for the work we do. Is people get familiar with their magic, and then they design business models around it. And that's what I help people do. And it really does make their work lighter and more fun, right? Because so often what we tend to do is we look around at what other people are doing. We think we should be doing that too. We hear someone talk. We see an ad on Facebook. We join a program in which they teach some kind of formula, some funnel, some strategy. And without even checking in with ourselves, we just adopt this thing because it's the thing you're supposed to do. It's the hottest thing. It's the trendy thing. It's the thing that's promising you some level of success, yada, yada, yada. Right. And then we find ourselves, however, further down the road, feeling like, why am I doing all that? Like, and it starts to just feel heavy, right? Like, starts to feel even constraining in some way. I don't know if you've ever found yourself in your business where you're kind of going through the motions of stuff as you've set it up. I mean, when you're the business owner, you're kind of the one that sets it up, right? You're the boss of the show. And so you set up this business and then you find yourself in it feeling trapped by it in some way. And that is almost always a result of having left our magic out of the equation somehow. It's like we didn't consult our soul. We didn't consult our inner knowing before making all those decisions. And it happens to all of us. Yeah.
So words are great. Share with us, Ashlie, a story about somebody for whom, you know, they were able to consult their inner knowing, their inner magic, and they were able to see a distinct difference in the way that their business was able to perform.
Yeah. Man, I've got a bunch of stories. So let me think about what feels present right now.
Well, you don't have to share just one. You can share many.
Yeah, sure. Let me think. Well, I'm thinking, so we just completed our signature business program. Is called Sourced Magic Business. And we just completed a round of Sourced Magic Business. So I'm really present to the people that were in this program and the shifts that they created. So I'm thinking about one client in particular who has been in business for quite a few years. She runs retreats and she runs a membership that's a really, really thriving community in a lot of ways. And her business was based primarily on in-person events like retreats and dance movement sessions that she would hold in community, workshops and that sort of thing. And when COVID hit, like many of us, she had to make certain adjustments. And she did that based on whatever she needed to do at the time. And she started holding her classes online, which all in all, not a bad thing. But 2 years in, or 2 years plus in, she was still operating in a business model that was designed to fit this need. And part of what she discovered was that the way she had decided to do it was really constraining her magic. So she in particular is an expression magician, much like yourself. I'm familiar with this magic, right? For expression magicians, their gift is in being able to speak and channel, right? They receive the message or the information without filtering it through the mind. It just sort of comes through. And so people with this gift, they are often going to say something brilliant, having not planned it, not able to necessarily repeat it, and it's going to be live and present in the moment. And so what's ideal for them is to set up an opportunity for them to show up and channel or speak. And yet she had altered her business model, and she'd started creating it in such a way that she was creating content ahead of time every week to be delivered inside of her membership, inside of her classes, so that she could tell people what to expect, what it was going to do. And she was kind of stuck in this drudgery of having to write content ahead of time, prepare something to teach so that she could show up online to teach. Right. I don't know how does that even feel to you as I say that, the thought of like preparing and doing that for you?
Yeah, not great. No, I don't resonate with that at all.
Yeah. And that's a little bit where she found herself. It's like, yeah, kind of carrying the heaviness of this structure that had kind of fallen into place. So when she saw that she had done that, she immediately started making some shit. Like, I am not centering my business and my offerings for my magic. And she made a decision and altered the way she was going to show up for her programs going forward. No more prepping and planning, just to communicate. This is the time, permission to show up and just receive and offer her community what shows up as it shows up. No more of that prepping, planning. But here's the thing. She wasn't recognizing that that was her magic at work. It's just kind of how she'd always done things. But when the circumstances changed, she altered herself to fit the circumstances, not realizing that it was cutting her off from her most potent and precious gift. So when she saw that, she cleared it up. She restructured things in such a way that when she showed up, she could totally and fully be in her magic. It was a big deal.
I see what you're saying, and you know what is becoming clear from that is that I think for a lot of us, the thing that comes naturally for us, we probably discount it a little bit. We don't put a lot of value on it. We don't even personally recognize it. Other people might recognize it in us, but we might not put a lot of value in it. So I can see how, even though, like for me, I show up at even like when I show up on my summits, I have maybe bullet points, but no prepared presentation, because a prepared presentation is actually going to be more confusing for me than if I go on stage. I will have flow. And if I am in flow, the words are going to come and they will be perfect. I can guarantee that. And there are not very many things that I can guarantee in this life, but I can guarantee that. So I know exactly how she feels about that. But in another part of my life, I would have discounted that. Like that would have been like not something that I would have had any focus on.
Davia, I have to tell you, because I'm like, I leave out the best part. So exactly what you're saying, she had discounted it. And when she stepped into fully owning it, she had been trying to create a program that she wanted to offer, like a deeper dive into her work, a longer program that she'd been dreaming about and kind of gestating on. But she had put some pressure on herself to outline what the program was going to look like before she was selling it. You know, she needed to kind of figure out what was going to happen. And that was really challenging for her, because for the exact reasons that you're saying. So when she stepped into fully owning her magic, she let go of the need to create some big outline. She actually sold the program. She produced $72,000 of extra revenue within the 2-week span that she offered the program, without an agenda curriculum, knowing she can show up and deliver what she's promising just using her magic. So that's exactly the shift when somebody steps into like full ownership and really validating what they bring and the value that it has.
So you mentioned that she is an expression magician. And I remember that because I took the quiz, and I'll give you an opportunity in a couple of minutes to just share the quiz with my audience so that they can go and take the quiz too. But can you tell us a little bit more about the different areas of magic and describe them a little bit, please?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so there are 6 distinct magics. We just talked about expression, that is speaking without the filtering through the mind, right? And this can show up in a handful of other ways as well, like painting or dancing or writing. There's a lot of expression magicians who just write poetry or stories or whatever. Expansion magic is another of the magics. This is someone who has like a natural belief in the abundance of the universe. This is someone who can expand an idea with ease. I find these people naturally ask very expansive questions. It's like they can see the fullness of what would play out and be possible for someone. So there's just this seeing beyond the limits or the perceived limits that someone might have into the fullness of what they could achieve or have happen, right? So this person is often like a big dreamer and a big picture person. They can sense when you're in lack or scarcity and have a way of really bringing you into abundance. Expansion magicians would be great. They make great business coaches, right? Because they can like expand your thinking and where you are into just like a bigger place. So that's expansion. We have recognition magic, and recognition magic is seeing. I feel like I call this like the seeing. It really is kind of a seeing and a recognizing where two or three things connect together. Maybe you see the signs or the symbols. It's a pattern recognition of sorts. So this magic makes it possible to kind of play out and see 10 steps down the road how something's going to unfold. It might also mean that you receive through source by a particular sign or a song. Sometimes the way this will show up for me, it's like a song on the radio that I feel a click or a knowing in my body that is for me, like a message for me. So you see something and you recognize it as source talking to you, working through you. Let's see, vibration magic. So vibration magicians are fluent in the language of energy. They see and feel vibration. And this is someone who can sense the energy behind the words, right? So it's like, I'm thinking of one vibration magician. It feels like she doesn't always even hear what you're saying, but she's picking up on the vibe of what you're saying, right? So it's like beyond the words, and being able to kind of sense where someone is operating vibrationally. So it might be that you can even see why or how this person would have attracted the circumstances that they have in their life just based on where they're vibrating. And this is someone who knows and understands like the results you're getting are a match for where you're vibrating. Like they just get that. Sensation magic. The sensation magic is feeling in your body what someone else might be feeling, or receiving communication through sensations and or emotions in your body. So you might feel and know when something feels off by the way it feels in your body. So it's like your body's a tuning rod of sorts or an instrument. This is one of my primary magics myself. And so I can feel, it's like I'll have a little twinge in my body. Something feels off. Or sometimes when I'm communicating about it, I'll say, I don't know, it just feels like, and it's as if I can say it better by showing you what my body is doing internally. Sometimes that means that I can feel my clients, like I will have an upset, weird stomach, and then I'll check in with them and they'll tell me, yeah, I'm like nauseous as hell. And it's like, oh, okay, that's weird. So it's a sensation in the body feeling. Compassion. So compassion is a healing presence. This is like, I like to say compassion magicians will love you into wholeness. So this person really brings unconditional love and safety and presence in such a way that you see your own stories in their presence, and they just sort of fall away. It's like you get to discover the wholeness of who you are in their space. This is an interesting one when you're in service work and how it looks for building a business around it. But these are heart people who need some strong boundaries. They tend to want to love and heal everybody. So they have unique challenges in their business, just like every magician does. But that's compassion, is really loving someone into wholeness. And let's see, did that cover everything? Let's see, since I have my little sensation, recognition, compassion, expansion, expression, vibration. That's it. That's 6. And I think it's worth saying most people are multi-magical. So it's often you're going to have one that's really dominant for you, maybe one you lead with. You've honed it over time in some form or fashion, whether you recognize it as a magic or not. And then you might have one that you've actually hid in some way or tried to repress for whatever reason. Maybe it didn't feel safe, didn't feel acceptable, had some experience with it as a child, maybe that didn't allow it to really come through. But you are most likely a multi-magical being.
Well, I think we're all just multi-magical, and I love the idea of us being multi-magical. I love the idea of us being able to employ our magic into our business to grow our business in a smarter way, employ this magic in our business to go ahead of us in our marketing and in our hiring and in our building our programs and all this fun stuff, and actually being able to make it all go so much more smoothly so that we can grow our businesses smarter and live our optimal life. So if somebody was out there and they're wondering, okay, I know I'm magical, but what really is my magic? How would they figure this out?
Yes, definitely go take the quiz to discover your sourced magic. It is at sourcedexperience.com/quiz. And you'll get a whole like PDF with information about how your magic works, how you might apply it in your business, some of the challenges that you might find in your business based on your magic. So it's a really comprehensive report, actually, that'll give you a very good starting place for becoming more aware and playing with your magic in different ways.
That's wonderful. And then I am sure that there are going to be those of our guests who are going to want to reach out to you directly, Ashlie, to see how they can perhaps work with you or maybe just have conversation. How could they connect with you?
Yeah, that would be great. You can email me directly at ashlie@sourcedexperience.com. So it's ASHLIE at sourcedexperience.com. But yeah, if you hear this and you have questions, you want to chat, send me an email.
Beautiful. That's so wonderful. Guys, if you've been watching the show for a while, you know that at the end of every show, we pull a card. Today, I pulled a card from the Sacred Rebels Guidebook by Alana Fairchild. And I've done 3 shows this week. So we did our regular show. I hosted a show for our dear friend, Laura West of Joyful Business. And then I did this show because we're building out our runway because I'm going to be on vacation. And every single day I pulled the same card every single time. Every single time.
Which one is it?
Do you think that the universe is trying to tell me something, or maybe tell you something, or maybe tell all of us something? So here's what it says, guys. Softly, softly, the tender touch. The feminine wisdom of gentleness can assist you now. When we're at a point in life where we want to attain greater things, but don't necessarily have a proportionally greater supply of energy at our disposal, it's time to work smarter rather than harder. This is the way of feminine wisdom. Guys, I can't make it up. I can't make that up. All I do is pull a card. I can't make it up.
That's awesome.
So I feel like the message that we're getting here is, why don't we think about what is it that is our sourced magic? What is it that is our sourced magic? What is this magical thing that's inside of us that maybe we've pushed down, maybe we've suppressed all this time, that could be the thing that's helping us to live our best lives, helping our businesses to be the best that it can be? Go take that quiz, guys. And I have just one last thing to share with you, one little piece of housekeeping. We are open for our Grow Smarter Amplify program. For those of you who don't know, our Grow Smarter Amplify program is the program that allows you to, it's not coaching. As a matter of fact, most of our clients who are in this program, they are coaches, they're healers, they're leaders, they're speakers, they're gurus. But what it allows us to do is it allows us to get the voices of the entrepreneurs, the heart-centered, passionate entrepreneurs to be heard in a bigger way. So we have your experts who are experts in publishing, podcasting, speaking. We have your TV hosting, all those experts, we have them here to support you. And so if you have questions, if you have concerns, just hop on over to growsmarternotharder.com and we can have some conversation about Amplify. Thank you so much, Ashlie, for being on the show today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. As you know, I'm on vacation, so I'll see you guys on the next
Have
show.
a great one.
Bye, everyone.